Hello, and welcome to the American Family Insurance DreamBank Facebook page, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams and are committed to helping you pursue yours. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Alec Shaw. Alec began his blockchain career 4 years ago when he took over the blockchain lab at Marquette University. During his time there, he educated and built blockchain proof of concepts for Milwaukee manufacturers. He is now a partner of business development at Sperax, a decentralized stablecoin project on Ethereum. Alec also serves as vice president of Blockchain Education Network, a network of university clubs committed to accelerating the adoption of blockchain technology. And now I'll hand it off to Alec.
Cool. Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I can't see any of you, so this feels a little bit like I'm talking into an echo chamber, but please, add comments, ask questions. I want this to be interactive. I'd rather not just talk at a computer screen for, 40 minutes. So feel free to ask questions. And without further ado, let's start demystifying blockchain. So before we get into the presentation, this is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to give you a little intro on who I am, what we're working on at Sperax, to kind of let you know what I do every day and how I'm potentially qualified to talk about this topic. Then we're going to get into the blockchain portion, which is titled First Innovation is Good. We're going to talk about the blockchain basics. We're going to talk about the three most, the best use cases that are gaining the most traction today, which are decentralized finance, DeFi, non-fungible tokens, NFTs, and then decentralized autonomous organizations, which are DAOs. All of these run on top of blockchains, and they're the best use cases that we can talk about today. And then we'll wrap up by talking a little bit about the metaverse. We'll try to give that a definition. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about it if you haven't already. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with like a little debate conversation about blockchain, Bitcoin, and the environment. Because you'll hear a lot in the news that Bitcoin is destroying the world and all this other stuff. So we'll get into that at the end. So as Eric mentioned, I was the founder of Marquette Blockchain Lab. I'm now the partner at Sperax, where I work on partnerships, business development, and revenue models and use cases for our tokens. I also volunteer my time at the Blockchain Education Network, where we help students, get their feet wet, learn about cryptocurrencies, learn about blockchain, and if they want to work in the industry, we'll connect them with startups. If they have an idea, we'll help them get funding. And really, we just want to be like a conduit to help students get involved in the space. And then finally, I'm an advisor for local angel groups, as well as a group of hedge funds and market makers, particularly making cryptocurrency markets on decentralized exchanges. So let me talk about Sperax for 2 seconds. We're building 2 different products. The first, before I get into the products, let's talk about the pain point that we observed. So cryptocurrency is really hard, and it's really hard because, one, it uses a lot of financial concepts, really complicated financial concepts, actually. So without understanding some of these financial ideas, it's really challenging to sort through the noise in the space. And then the other challenge is that even if you are an expert at finance and you know exactly what you want, it's very challenging to even get the tokens that you want. It's very challenging to deal with public keys and private keys. I've been doing this now for 6 years, and I still get nervous when I'm sending my brother, a portion of a Bitcoin, because we have to type in that long code. So it's extremely challenging from a financial perspective and a technology perspective. So we're building 2 different products. The first one is USDS, which harnesses the power of DeFi. to produce a cryptocurrency. We call it a crypto dollar, and it remains pegged to $1, and it pays you interest. So it actually harnesses the power of DeFi and the financial benefits it offers and delivers you interest payments by just holding a single currency, a single cryptocurrency. And then even if the stable cryptocurrency works beautiful and it abstracts the financial complexity out of the model, it's still challenging to get the token, like I just mentioned. So we also have a mobile application that is going to look very similar to a traditional banking app. So first off, you connect your bank account to it, you purchase your cryptocurrencies, and then using this app, you can interact with the DeFi world and the cryptocurrency world without having to be a cryptocurrency or a technology expert. It's supposed to make it seamless. It's supposed to make it smooth. It's supposed to make it sexy. So this is already out. You can go download it. And that's what I've been working on. And so I mainly prioritize the use case of this and ensuring that our markets are liquid. Okay, enough about me and my company. Now let's talk about crypto. Let's talk about blockchain. And we're going to start with this idea that innovation is good. I'm sure many people in this room agree, but let's just defend this point for one moment. So to understand where we are in kind of this cycle of innovation, bear with me for a second, but we're going to have to look at a 3,000-year timeline. So on the x-axis, down here, you'll see the year minus 1,000 all the way up to current day. Then on the y-axis, we have income per person. You can think of this as a proxy for the quality of life. As you can see, we were stuck for nearly 2,750 years in this period called the Malthusian Trap. And what would happen during this period is that once our population grew, we would run into a problem where it was very challenging for the leaders of that community to effectively distribute resources in such a way that it allows for the population to continue to grow. So as population grew, we didn't have the technology to get food, water, and shelter to all of those that need it. And this was the similar trend all the way until around 1800, positive 1800. And what happened then was the Industrial Revolution. So thanks to things like steam engines and our ability to begin to mass produce, we were able to radically increase the income per person, the quality of life, and ultimately how many people we can support in a community. So as you can see, this is hockey stick growth. And at 1800, it goes almost vertical. But as you zoom into this vertical line, it tells a very interesting story. So now this graph shows the beginning of the vertical line, year 1820. That was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. But as you can see, it was still almost completely flat up until year 1940. And in year 1940, something very significant was invented. And that is the first electronic computer. So as you can see from year 1940, when the computer was invented, that is when the actual growth began. So it's very interesting. And please, if you have any questions about this, put it in the comments. I can clarify or whatever you might need. So the only thing I'm pointing out here is that the Industrial Revolution was significant. But what really kicked us off to the world that we live in today were computers, electric technology. The world's first computer. That's what was invented in 1942 and sent us on this vertical line into prosperity. But what's interesting is I don't believe we're anywhere near the end of this increased acceleration. I believe in another 50 years, we're going to look back on a similar graph. And the years from 1940 up until 2020 will look closer to the years of 1820 to 1940 on this chart. And that is simply because the rate of acceleration of innovation is also accelerating. So let's look at why this is happening. In 1992, if you wanted to pay for 1 gigabyte of bandwidth, the ability to send information, it would cost you over $1,200. Now it's less than $1 to do that. If you wanted to purchase 1 million transistors, you wanted to build a computer chip, it would cost you $222. Now it's less than a penny. Storage cost. This is just storing data. Used to be $570 for a gigabyte in 1992. Now it's free, literally free. And as encryption and compression gets even better, this is literally going to be free. It's going to be free to store data because it's going to be such a tiny file that you don't even have to use other people's servers. You'll be able to keep terabytes, whatever even is beyond that, right on your hard drive with almost no constraints. So what does this have to do with blockchain? Now that bandwidth is, the expense for bandwidth is negligible, the infrastructure is so cheap that it is unbelievably fast and people all over the world can access this infrastructure. It has enabled us to build something called the Internet of Value. And it's the foundation of the fourth industrial revolution. So I just made this bold claim, blockchain, it's the Internet of Value, it's the future, it's the foundation of a whole new period of mankind that is, working toward more prosperity, and ultimately the Internet of Value could be a means to that end. So before we get into what a blockchain is, I just want to make it abundantly clear that blockchain is not exclusively Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an application-specific blockchain. So Bitcoin, the asset, does sit on top of a blockchain. And the Bitcoin blockchain does one thing, and it does it very, very well, which is keep track of Bitcoins. So with that being clear, blockchain is not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not just blockchain. Bitcoin is a type of blockchain, but there are many other types. A blockchain is a public, globally accessible, write-only database. That's it. It's not very sexy. But what you can do with it is quite sexy. So on this database, you'll find a ledger in which transactions of value are recorded chronologically. So this is a very simple concept. This is a public database that anyone in the world can access. Once something is added to it, it can't be deleted. If it is edited, then the record of that edit is on the database. And again, anyone can view it, and it's public, and there isn't anything that anyone can say to prohibit someone from going and looking at it. And once you look at this database, you'll find this ledger that is just simply a record chronologically stating that people were doing some sort of business, people were making trades. All it is saying is that someone transacted something with another party at this time and date. This is what the thing was, and this is how many of the thing was transferred. Something that's really important to note is that each blockchain has a set of rules. the blockchain will always 100% of the time execute those rules in an honest and swift way. There's nothing anyone can do to stop the blockchain from executing these. It will always execute it, and they'll always follow the rules. Some blockchains allow you to code your own custom rules on top of them, like Ethereum. You could build your own application and put it on top of Ethereum, where you would not be able to do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a set of rules that are very, very narrow. They simply are rules that tell the blockchain when someone is requesting to send Bitcoin. It confirms that they have enough Bitcoin in their account, and it keeps track of everyone else's balances. Those are the only rules. Alec can send Bitcoin to Jane only if Alec has enough Bitcoin to send to Jane. And then what does Jane's balance read after Alec sent the Bitcoin? That's all it does. But on Ethereum, you can program custom rules. Potentially, the rules are saying that Alec can pay Jane, but then Jane can refund Alec if it's the wrong amount. So that minor difference has very significant implications, because Bitcoin blockchain is only good for Bitcoin, where the Ethereum blockchain can be used for any transaction of value, and it will actually execute a computer program and follow the rules of that computer program 100% of the time. And anyone that wants to use that computer program that lives on top of the Ethereum blockchain, you can trust that the rules are being executed in an honest way. You don't have to trust anyone else. All you have to trust is the blockchain. So the core principles of a blockchain is, first, that it's immutable. So as we mentioned, it's write only. So we need to ensure that once something is written, it cannot be changed. So thanks to a bunch of very brilliant people that invented this concept called mining and proof of work, it enables these things to be immutable. And mining also contributes to the security of the network. So core principle number 2 is that these systems are secure, meaning that no bank, no powerful politician, no government agency can go and shut down one of these systems. They're secure against censorship. The third principle is that it's trust minimized. So we don't have to trust any third party, maybe Amazon Web Services. We don't have to trust Amazon to ensure that the rules of the application are being followed. We don't have to trust Amazon, we only have to trust the Ethereum blockchain. And fourth, the first 3 core principles enable the fourth, which is a true peer-to-peer experience while on the internet. And what I say as peer-to-peer, let me give you a quick example. If I want to send Jane $5 over Venmo, it feels quite peer-to-peer. I'm sending my money to Jane. But in reality, my cell phone is actually notifying my bank to send, well, actually my phone is notifying Venmo. Venmo's notifying my bank. The bank is doing the transfer. And then her bank receives the transfer, notifies Venmo, and both the accounts are updated. But that's not actually peer-to-peer because of Venmo and because of the banks. But a peer-to-peer transaction on a blockchain with crypto dollars would be very, very different. It would be me sending money directly through the blockchain, directly to Jane's wallet. And this is as physical as if I had this $5 bill. I crumpled it up, and I handed it to Jane. That is a peer-to-peer transaction. No one else is involved, and no one else knows, and no one else cares. But what I did was successfully transferred value to Jane in a peer-to-peer fashion, and that can now be done digitally without relying on Amazon, without relying on the banks. It can be done in a truly peer-to-peer way, all powered via Ethereum and other smart contract blockchains. So let's take a little bit deeper of a dive into the two different models of kind of what I'm proposing here and what type of experiments are being run in the space. If you look on the left, it's a banking environment. You can see that, Bank A in the top left wants to do business with Bank B on the top right. Say it's US Bank and Chase. They do a lot of business with one another, but they're actually competitors. So they need that central company here, the clearinghouse. Oops. They need the clearinghouse to confirm that everyone involved is being honest. That when Chase receives a payment from US Bank, they don't accidentally mess up a zero. They need to ensure that everyone is being honest and that everyone is playing by the rules. Something to consider, though, this little middleman here, he's expensive. So the service that we're getting is trust. US Bank and Chase no longer need to trust each other because they both trust the central authority. But this central authority is managed by people. It's a physical company that has to pay taxes. It's a physical building where mortgages are owed. Rent is owed. It has people, employees that need to be paid, and humans are humans, so they sometimes make mistakes. So to recap, you're paying a group of humans that sometimes make mistakes 2 or 3% just to take record of something you're doing honestly. It doesn't seem very right. The alternative is that we use a blockchain instead of humans to monitor the transactions. So as you remember, Chase and US Bank already are aligned. They want to do business with one another. They just don't blindly trust each other's accounting systems. So now instead of US Bank paying Chase directly, they'll pay the blockchain will pay Chase, and then Chase doesn't have to trust US Bank. Chase simply looks at the blockchain, at the single source of truth, validates that US Bank did in fact pay them the correct amount before the required date, and boom, everything is accounted for. So you get the same result as using a trusted central party, but the best part about the blockchain is that it's not run by humans. It doesn't make mistakes. It always follows the rules. It doesn't get emotional. It doesn't go out too late last night and show up to work hungover the next day. It's emotionless, it works 24 hours, and it doesn't charge very much. So if you're not going to rely on a central third party, what makes a blockchain, like why should I trust it? A lot of people are probably asking, I really trust that clearinghouse. I really trust that central authority. Why the hell would I trust a blockchain? And let me explain a little bit. So this is what the blockchain architecture is underneath the hood. These are servers. In blockchain, they're called miners. Might be something you've heard of before. And what they do is they secure the network. So these are very expensive to purchase, and they're very expensive to run because they use a lot of electricity. And the most amazing part about this is that it's not run by Amazon Web Services. So this is the real meat of it. Instead of having to trust Amazon, who has to listen to the US government, for example, you're trusting a group of distributed participants that are mining the network for you. So networks like this exist. You could upload a blockchain to Amazon Web Services. It'll be super fast. It'll solve all of the issues that Bitcoin has. But in reality, it's run by Amazon Web Services. So it's always subject to being shut down, to being manipulated. It can't be immutable if Amazon Web Services is running. So instead, people all around the world mine, and what it enables is a platform that anyone can write a smart contract, which is a blockchain computer application, and they can run it on top of these servers. And you can trust that the servers, the blockchain, will always execute your code written in the smart contract exactly how you wrote it. You don't have to worry about anyone changing it. You can always trust it. So these miners I mentioned, there's over 500,000 around the world, independent individuals mining, supporting these networks that aren't subject to censorship or manipulation or security breaches from governments, companies, rich people, whatever it might be. So it's globally distributed. You're not gonna collude with these people. You're not gonna hack into all of their systems at once. So this results in 100% uptime. Since Bitcoin was launched in 2009, and since Ethereum was launched in 2010, there's been 100% uptime. And you have to have 100% uptime when you're building a new financial infrastructure built on top of digital blockchains. Okay. So now we know blockchains are databases that store super, super important information about value and who owns what value. And they're public, they're globally accessible, and they're really, 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 really hard to change, if not impossible. So what the heck are you using these things for? What's anyone using them for? You hear all about, like, what's a blockchain good for? And who knows? First off, they're good for decentralized financial services. It's replacing your banks, your Visas, your MasterCards, Venmos, and PayPals. You'll just use code, and you'll do it peer-to-peer. Second, we're going to talk about NFTs. I'm sure someone in this room has recognized one of these guys. They're crypto punks. They're extremely expensive. We'll get into it. And then third, we're going to talk about DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. First, decentralized finance. Decentralized finance is the idea that you can replicate or offer services comparable to the services that the traditional financial system currently offers, in such a way that it is more reliable, it is safer, it is more transparent, and ultimately cheaper for the end user. And it's all built on top of blockchains. So decentralized finance is replicating primarily these four key fundamental services that the financial system currently offers. First is the idea of exchange. You own something, you own Apple stock. You own a share of gold in a vault. You own cash at US Bank. You simply want to exchange that asset for a different one. You can now do that on a blockchain without having to ask anyone permission, without needing an account, without needing an identity, without needing a credit score, without needing anything besides an internet connection. 2, you can now borrow and lend assets on blockchains in a decentralized way. So now, if you have an asset and you want a loan against it, you don't need an account. You don't need KYC. You don't need to be an accredited investor. You don't need a credit score. You don't need anything. All you need is the asset. And then you want to take a loan? Absolutely. This would look like if you have, say, $100,000 in Ether or in Bitcoin, and you want to take out a $30,000 loan to do whatever you want against your collateral. Currently, very few banks even offer this service. And if you want to participate, most of the time, you have to be an accredited investor. But you go on to the Ethereum blockchain, you deposit your cryptocurrency, you'll get a loan instantaneously, regardless of your credit score. 3, margin trading. So this is the idea of borrowing shares from others in order to get more exposure when trading financial assets. And then 4, custom strategies. So you can actually create an index fund, for example. Say you only wanted to create a basket of stocks or cryptocurrencies that have a certain type of risk preference, or you only want to purchase tokens that are in the gaming sector. You can build all of that with custom strategies, custom indexes, and that's all being replicated directly on top of the Ethereum blockchain without needing a bank, without needing a bank account, without needing to report anything, without needing a credit score or to be an accredited investor. It's up to you to take your financial well-being into your own hands, and now the tools are available for you. So decentralized exchange, it's a project called Uniswap. Then we have Compound. This is a FLI2X, which you may or may not have heard of. It's a leveraged Ether token. And then a popular company that's servicing the strategy space is something called the Index Co-op. I'm sure that many people here have heard of Uniswap. Give me a thumbs up in the channel if you've heard of Uniswap. And then give me a thumbs up if you've heard of any of these, or shoot me a note. So this is Uniswap. Let me see if I can show you a quick example. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to swap things on the blockchain. So right here, it's just a traditional website. This is called uniswap.org. So I'm going to launch the application on the top right. As you can see here, this is my wallet. So it's connected to the application. Can you see this?
Just letting you know, I see the Uniswap website, but we do not see the wallet.
Huh. Thanks for letting me know, Eric. Oh, that's so weird. It's not letting me share my screen when I do this. I'm not really sure why. Oh, I know why. There we go. Okay. So what I did is I just went to this website, and this would typically be if you're in maybe a Charles Schwab brokerage account and you're looking to swap two assets with one another. So here we are. This is my wallet. So this is the equivalent of me having this $5 in my pocket, right? It's in my pocket. Here we're looking at my virtual wallet, which is called MetaMask. It has 1.05 Ether in it. So now let's say I want to sell my Ether for USDC. This is the equivalent of like selling a stock. So 1.04 Ether, that would get me $3,940. I click swap, confirm swap. It asks for me to confirm or reject. You're not seeing it on your screen, but it's over in the top right of mine. And if I pay the $45, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to trade mine. If I pay the $45, which is the Ethereum network fee, it goes to the miners, I can do that trade. There's no bank account involved. There's no credit score involved. There's no brokerage firm involved. There's nothing besides me directly interacting with the blockchain. And then Uniswap has liquidity pools of different tokens for you to trade against. So this is the job of market makers on Wall Street. And now it's being done completely autonomously with code. So that alone is going to be the future where you just do all of your financial activity yourself. And sure, many people will elect to use the traditional bank service, whatever. But for those that want to do it themselves, you'll have the ability to. Second, let's look at the borrowing and lending platform, Compound. So, like I said before, I have that Ether in my wallet. What this shows me right here are the current rates that I can get if I want to lend my Ether out, for example. If I want to lend my Ether, it'll be 0.13% is what I would get. And then if I wanted to borrow against my Ether, so say I have $100,000, I want to take out $50,000 worth of cash against my asset, I have to pay my loan will be at a rate of 2.95% APY. And I can pay that back in 10 years or I can pay that back in 10 minutes. So that's just all done, no KYC, no anything. You deposit your collateral, you're given a loan instantaneously. And these are, so I'm looking at the chat real fast. So Gwen asked, could those who create blockchains decide to shut them down? And how can blockchains not be hacked? Once you launch a blockchain, all these people mining, they're actually the ones that are running the code. So in order to shut one down, you'd have to talk with every single one of those 500,000 anonymous people to get them to simultaneously turn off their revenue stream, which they just will not do. Okay. How can they be sure they're not hacked? Because again, you would have to hack basically all of these servers simultaneously. And again, they're all anonymous actors. They're distributed around the world and they make money doing this. So why would they want to shoot themselves in the foot? Nikki has the question, who pays for Uniswap? The protocol itself does take a small fee, and that fee is given to the token holders of the Uniswap token. And how is relying on Uniswap different than relying on Venmo? Because the key difference between Venmo and Uniswap is where the programs actually live. So Uniswap lives on the blockchain, which is public, it's transparent, and we know where the money is at all times. But if we're going to give our money to Venmo, it goes into the black hole, which is the banking system and the Venmo system. So Venmo is on top of Amazon Web Services. And first off, all the money in the Venmo account, it's all invested and they take that from you. So when you have $1,000 in Venmo, it's actually being invested and the returns are being given to Venmo. And you're just kept with your money that's actually not even yours. It's not insured, nothing. It's Venmo's. You're just praying that they give it back to you one day. So that's pretty much why you can trust Uniswap. It's because it runs on the blockchain. The rules are transparent and the rules will always be followed, where Venmo is subject to shutting off your account whenever they want. Jennifer, I'll answer the question about the security tokens in a minute. So we went through these examples of decentralized finance, and I'm just trying to show you here with the compound example. It's not like you go to a bank and you say like, hey, what can you guys offer me for my assets? I want to get a loan. They look at your credit score. If you're young, they look at your parents' credit score, all this stuff. But all that matters is that you have crypto. Crypto is valuable. And the market, considering supply and demand, is demanding 2.95% for the Ether. That's all you need. You don't need a banker to pass judgment on you or your past behavior. So I'm sure you're asking, are people even using these things? Or is this guy just talking out his ass? And people are using them. So total value locked in DeFi, which means these are virtual bank accounts. It's $95 billion with a B, $95 billion. And this is the historical value locked since October of 2017. As you can see, we're just on a moon mission upwards, and it doesn't look like it's going to be stopping anytime soon. To compare, this is nearly 100 billion, and you look at Compound, this is managing 20 billion itself, 20 billion. And then if you look at the average hedge fund, the crypto hedge fund, it's only managing 42 million, showing that people just, they're locked out of these systems. And these hedge funds don't even perform as well as Uniswap and Compound. It's unbelievable. Like, it's a inferior investment strategy, and the hedge fund takes fees, and you're not even allowed to use it. So people are taking their power and their financial well-being into their own hands, and they're going to DeFi. If you look here, people are actually paying to use this stuff. So back to Nikki's question, who pays for Uniswap? Those swapping pay. And Uniswap in one day has collected $4 million yesterday. Ethereum collected 57 million yesterday. Aave did 1.8 million yesterday. So these things are legit. These are startups that are doing 400, 500 million a year in revenue. It's nuts. Something worth noting is that this is all tokens. Don't get tricked into thinking that it's not tokens. Real estate on the blockchain, not ready yet. Supply chain on the blockchain, not ready yet. All blockchains do is trade tokens. This is my favorite meme. They go, oh my gosh, wait. Blockchain is only used to trade tokens? It always has been. If you can't make it a token, the blockchain doesn't know it exists. So these are the popular types of DeFi tokens. We have cryptocurrencies, which are just currencies. Bitcoin, Litecoin. We have crypto capital assets. This looks a lot more like a stock. It could be a token that helps you govern a Uniswap, and as a result, it gives you rights to the cash flow from the protocol. We have synthetic tokens, which are tokens that track the price of traditional equities, Tesla, Apple, the S&P 500 index. Then we have strategy tokens, which are custom strategies that people have created. They turn it into one token, and then that one token represents an exotic strategy. But all you have to do is hold it in your pocket, and then instantaneously you're like an expert hedge fund trader. It's amazing. And again, all of these are open to anyone in the world. Just go grab it off Uniswap. Okay, that was all the finance stuff. Let's tear through these real fast so we have time for questions. NFTs, they're fun. It just means that the tokens are unique and they're not all the same. So if I have one token and you have one token, they're not the same token. Like Bitcoins are all the same. Ether is all the same. NFTs are unique. So you can prove who owns what. You can prove who used to own it. And they have real world benefits. Okay, this should be entertaining. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of these things, but they're called CryptoPunks. It's a piece of digital art on the blockchain. And does anyone know the difference between these two photos? There's a very significant difference. I'll give you a hint. One is an original, and one is copied and pasted. So the one on the left, the original, someone owns it, and then the one on the right, it's a copy. But now what's the implication of this? One is worth $120 million, and the other one's worth $0. But it's the same group of pixels. It's the same gosh darn image. But one has ownership and the other one doesn't. And that's legitimately what this NFT is for sale for right now on OpenSea. And I think the highest sale to date has been 40 million for CryptoPunks. And what the hell do you do with it once you have it? This is what you do with it. You make it your Twitter profile picture. NFTs, I'm sure, will do something beautiful one day. But right now, it's a status symbol for the extremely wealthy. And all they're doing with it is proving how rich they are by owning these things. It's a status symbol. It's a material item. Maybe these NFTs in the future will one day represent inventory in a warehouse. Maybe it'll be live tracking of your food as it leaves, the farm. Maybe. But until then, you got to really understand the fact that this is what it's being used for. Just rich people buying stuff and flexing. Popular NFT token flavors. You got digital art, you got generative art, collectibles and games, avatars. I think that a really cool thing is going to be like in-game items. So I'm sure like many of your kids, or you guys as well, play Fortnite. People spend lots of real money and invest a lot of real time in building value in the Fortnite universe. And you don't own any of that. Fortnite owns all of it. But in this future reality that many of us believe in, you can actually bring your goods from that world into a different virtual world, or even sell it on Uniswap. That's all for NFTs. If you have any questions, let me know. Finally, we have the DAO, which is basically you run a business on a blockchain, and how you vote on things is you use tokens. So the DAO gets to set the rules of the application. And for example, here on the compound company and the compound application, this gentleman, Getty Hill, on the top right, he proposed to add collateral factors for the following tokens. So this is a strategic business decision that normally happens in the executive office behind closed doors. But now the proposal, the conversation, and the voting is all done transparently. And it is all done on chain by the token holders, the same ones that have equity in the company or the protocol in which they're invested. So pretty much the solution is not to stand for being ordinary and being locked out. You shouldn't have to ask permission to access your money. You should be able to use the tools that are at your disposal to take control of your assets and to make decisions about your financial life and ultimately increase your well-being. It's kind of riskier sometimes, especially in the early days like today, but ultimately the end user is going to have ultimate power once they have all of these financial tools, all of these automations available to them to help them grow their wealth, help them get richer, help you get ahead. That's what this is going to do. Real fast, the metaverse has two descriptions. It's either like a virtual reality that you can go into, which is kind of cool. But I think that a much cooler version is the shared state reality, which is where you can like go into a virtual world and then you can share that world with others in such a way that like if you knocked down a tree in a game and you came back 50 years later, that tree would still be knocked down. Stuff like that. So I think it's a hybrid of the two, fully submersive, but you can also choose to live in like the meat space if you want, and then just go and play and then come back out. So Bitcoin uses a lot of electricity, like more than Sweden and Ukraine every year. A lot of people think is a really, really big problem. My personal opinion is that having a currency that is native to the internet, that is not subject to the control of any country, that the benefits outweigh the environmental damage it could potentially cause. That's my take on it. I'm happy to hear anyone else's take in the comments. That's pretty much it. That's not an updated email. Don't look at it. But feel free to ask questions. There are a couple in the chat. I'm just getting my email and phone number up. There we go. So shoot me an email, shoot me a text, give me a call. I'm always here to chat. So let me answer a couple of these questions. Doreen, a CNN story about 14 and 9-year-old siblings who data mine. Are minors vetted? No. Minors are actually anonymous. Data mining is a little bit different. So data mining is oftentimes just like searching the internet for data. It's just a fancy word for saying searching. But mining of blockchain is running a expensive computer in your house that uses a lot of electricity and it's really loud and it's really hot. And you probably won't make money unless you're going to invest like $200K. So I don't mind. Colin, your 20-year-old son is a graphic designer. Should he be minting NFTs? I mean, if he's got a big following on the internet and people will buy them, sure. But like just because you mint something doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it. Like I do a lot of really crappy paintings and stuff, and I just can't sell it because no one likes them. So if your son's got a following, do it. But at very least, he should be learning about what NFTs are, because if he's a designer, having the ability to link the design to the blockchain world is going to be a skill that is going to be incredibly, incredibly valuable in the future, and it already is today. If he knows how to do that, make a JPEG and NFT, he could go quit his job and do that full time. Gwen, I'm not sure how we'll find the presentation. I know it was live streamed, so I think Eric keeps them on the Facebook.
Yep. Sorry, just hopping in real quick to answer his question. Yeah, once we are done here, this will live on our Facebook page, and then in about a week, they will all be uploaded onto our YouTube page. We do that weekly. We get all our events and put them on our YouTube page as well.
Right on. Okay, so final question, and please continue to ask questions. I mean, I'm good on time, so I'll answer them all. Interesting take on the environmental cost. I wonder if the poor people in the world who are most impacted by the environmental decline, who will likely never benefit from this technology, would agree that it's worth it. Just my take. So interesting, because many people that are living in developing countries are hyper oppressed by their local currency, meaning that it's subject to the implications of criminals leading their country. Oftentimes, these politicians choose to enrich themselves through monetary and fiscal policy instead of promoting legislation that is beneficial to lower income individuals. So my take is that this is an alternative financial system that the poorest of people are allowed to participate without judgment or scrutiny. And that is orders of magnitude more powerful and liberating, and is well worth the environmental cost. Do you have a social media presence where you can discuss more about these topics? For sure I do. I should have put that on here. My Twitter is, one sec, I should know this. Alec_Sperax. So it's just my first name underscore and then the company name. And I'm almost at 2,000 followers, so hit that follow button, yeah.
That sounds great, man. Thank you so much. I'm just hopping on again. I did have a really quick question. I see we have a couple minutes left. When it comes to the loans that you were talking about on that website,
yeah,
who would, obviously these financial institutions have people that would enforce the loans, and charge you extras if you miss a payment and things like that. Who would enforce these loans and come collect and all that if you were to miss a payment, or how do they keep track of it in general?
Great question. So there's no set payback period. What you do is you lock up collateral. So say you deposit $100,000 worth of cryptocurrencies. Okay. Your $100,000, that's your deposited value. You take out a $50,000 loan, half of the initial deposit. And your loan is at a 10% APR. So after 1 year, you'll owe $55,000. But say the price of Bitcoin starts going down. All of a sudden, Bitcoin is worth 60,000. Your Bitcoin deposit, it is no longer worth 100,000. It's worth 60. You're getting really dangerously close to your loan amount. So what that company will do is send notifications to your wallet and say, hey, if you don't add more collateral, we're going to sell your collateral because we're worried that you're not going to pay it back. So the collateral that I'm using to say I'm good for the money As long as that's more than my loan, they'll let it ride. But the second it hits the same value as my loan, the protocol will instantaneously sell my collateral on the open market. Loan is done. I'm now the proud owner of my loan, and my collateral is sold. We're done.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I see we're at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you all for joining us. Go ahead and follow Alec on his Twitter if you can, whenever you go ahead and find them. And then also please go ahead and follow us as well on Facebook. And we also have a Twitter and, all our other social media pages. So thanks again, Alec. And thank you all for being here, and see you next time. Bye.
Peace, everyone.